Hey everybody, how are you doing? It's Julene with JovesStar Astrology. We're going to talk about the full moon in Aries coming in tomorrow, October the 17th, 2024. Very early in the morning here in the United States. So most of us, at least on the West Coast and where I'm at in Phoenix, will be sleeping likely. But it'll be happening early morning on the East Coast as well. So 3 hours ahead on the East Coast of the United States at about 7:30 a.m. So this, I think we can all feel this full moon energy coming. And, it's probably like residual leftover stuff from the eclipse that we had October 2nd in Libra. But boy, a lot here is going on. I think like we might be feeling like we're reaching the apex or conclusion of some situation in our lives. And so it's very tense. And of course, the aspects in the chart definitely tell us that it's a very tense time. And this is actually, the full moon could be a conclusion or a culmination to the new moon solar eclipse that we had April the 8th this past year. And I'm going to show you a couple of synchronicities that I noticed from that chart to this particular chart that tells me that is looped in for sure here. Not that there couldn't be other things going on for you as well, but for sure there are themes connected to the solar eclipse in April. So we'll take a look. I mean, astrology is the study of patterns. And so those of us that study these charts pay attention and, we sort of zero in on things that create patterns of some sort, because that's how it helps us read more depth in the astrology, right? I read astrology through the Placidus method, which comes into which considers degrees very much so. So I notice those patterns for sure. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that might make you wonder what this is culminating to for all of us. This is a full moon in Aries, right? A cardinal sign. Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac. So we'll have the moon in Aries, and Aries wants to take action, sometimes impulsively. So sometimes, a little bit childlike, right? Or adolescent-like. Aries can be. Aries is a very physical and passionate sign. So it's cardinal fire and wants to move very quickly. Aries also it's ruled by Mars, and it represents the action that we take physically too. So very much this particular full moon, as well as the solar eclipse before, can represent physical action and health even. All depends on where this is hitting in your chart. You'll have to pull out your charts so you can see what house this full moon is hitting, and it will have been the same house that the Aries solar eclipse hit in April, and the axis, right, the opposition of Libra, where all of these eclipses have been hitting since the nodes moved into Aries and Libra in June of 2023. So we're going to take a look at the chart and get started at breaking down what we've got on tap here. Okay, so let me pull the chart up. First, we're going to take a look at the chart for the solar eclipse. Oops, that didn't want to do that. Oh yeah, no, there it is. Just took a minute. Looks like my internet connection is playing jokes on me again, as usual. And of course, the landscaper is outside. So hopefully you can't hear him buzzing around. If you can, I apologize. But I couldn't wait much longer to do this because I have somewhere I have to run out too soon. So, okay, let's take a look. So this is the chart of the solar eclipse in April. And I want to start with that because I want to point out a couple things. I want to point out where Mars was, which is the ruler of the North Node. And eclipse, obviously, we know occurs because it's close to the nodes of the moon And that was the case in April, but the node is in Aries. And so Mars rules Aries. So we're going to think about where was Mars at the time, as well as I want you to bookmark where Mercury was at the time. And we were in a Mercury retrograde at that time. So indicated at that time that we were revisiting or rethinking or reworking something in the Aries area of our chart. Could have been, things that we desire, could have been something about our health or what kind of movements we needed to make. Something was up for review at that time. Mercury is the mind, it's communication, it's also movement. So keep those two placements in mind. We had Mercury at 24 degrees of Aries. We had Mars at 13 degrees of Pisces. All right. Well, does that want to erase for me? There we go. Okay, I'm going to switch the chart now. And pick up this current chart for this full moon. I keep wanting to call this full moon an eclipse, and it's not an eclipse, but I'll tell you, it's pretty close to the nodes. So, it's powerful, right? Okay, so here we have the current full moon in the sign of Aries, October 17th, 2024, coming through where I'm at in Phoenix at 4:26 a.m. Like I said, very, very early in the morning. That is that also includes the West Coast. We're on the same time frame right now as the West Coast. And then we will have 7:26 a.m. on the East Coast. All right, so let's take a look. So here we have the full moon in Aries, which is the opposition, the moon to the sun in the sign of Aries. Moon in Aries, look at that, at 24 degrees, right? The full moon is revealing something potentially that we were either thinking about or needing to talk about or needing to review, or bringing that back up from April 8th, 2024 during the solar eclipse, possibly, right? But the moon, this full moon is at the exact degree of where Mercury retrograde was at on April the 8th. Also, if you notice, Saturn at the time in Pisces, currently in Pisces, and right now it's retrograde, was at 13 degrees of Pisces, where Mars was at the time of the April 8th eclipse. And of course, Mars rules the North Node. That tells me that we have a synchronicity here. Something is related or connected. Potentially, very strong possibility. Of course, we have Mars now in the sign of Cancer, and we'll talk about that. But I just wanted to go over that synchronicity because it is very, very telling potentially if you're trying to unpack this and figure out what is going on with this eclipse cycle that's coming into this full moon. All right, so so back to this. We have the full moon. I don't know why I erased that, but I did. So we have the full moon, 24 degrees of Aries, conjunct Chiron. Chiron, the wounded healer. So in Aries, it represents our personal wounding. Were we not able to express ourselves? Are we not able to show passion? Is it some kind of a physical injury, right? Are we not able to go after the things that we want? This full moon is going to reveal past wounding when it comes to Chiron in the sign of Aries. It can also be a healing as well. The full moon, obviously opposite the sun in the sign of Libra. And look at that, conjunct Juno. Juno, which is the marriage asteroid, but the asteroid of commitment in the sign of Libra. Libra is all about balance and justice. It's about relationships. So this eclipse is very much about relationships of some sort. And that's been the theme with this, this nodal transit anyway. But we've got something here that's talking about justice and fairness when it comes to authenticity, potentially in our relationships, and how we commit to those, right? And so the sun is saying we need to take a look at that, right? This is a choice point, right? Or a point of tension where there may need to be a change, which is cardinal, in a relationship or a situation, before we can move forward. Kind of makes you wonder, with Mars back here at the time in April, where Saturn is now in Pisces. Mars in Pisces is not strong, right? It doesn't take action very easily. A lot of times it moves very much in a mysterious, sort of nebulous way. We can be confused. It definitely, Pisces can represent illness. It can represent, trying to unpack something mentally or just mental anguish. Mars and Pisces, very sensitive water sign. But whatever was going on, or however we were feeling back then, taking action, or what our intentions were, we may not have had our feet firmly planted in the ground, right? Or we may not have seen exactly what is going on. Now we've got Saturn there in that spot holding us accountable, right? Saturn that is now now retrograde. That's what the RX means, retrograde, indicating that we need to deal with a past situation, take some kind of responsibility maybe, or make some kind of commitment, or there's some kind of work that needs to be done, or we need to review the work that we have done up to this point. Okay. Now, if we're looking at the ruler, which we always look at, the ruler of this eclipse, we have over here in the sign of Cancer. And look at that, creating a cardinal T-square, which is a point of tension. And Mars, the ruler of this full moon, is in the sign of Cancer. So it is the apex. Mars is the apex. Now, Aries can be pretty fiery. So we want to watch out for conflicts, obviously, in relationships, legal situations, and it's any kind of relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to mean it's a romantic relationship, but Libra represents the other, or other people. So there are definitely two sides to this. Mars in Cancer is it's a very emotional sign. Obviously, it holds its emotions inside. It has memory, so it doesn't forget. Cancer tends to be very, very protective. It represents the home, the family, women, the mother. There's some kind of action that we are taking, and it could be physical, right? It represents potentially a new beginning, moving forward into something new, and possibly into some kind of healing, right? With Chiron there. So we got to watch the tempers, right? We got to watch our physical body, that we're not moving too quickly and putting ourselves in harm's way. The good news is that Mars rules Aries and the moon rules Cancer. So the square there does have mutual reception, which kind of tells me that, yep, Mars is going to be fired up, but it's in a water sign, right? So it's going to want to move forward, but it's going to be somewhat sensitive and emotional. And I think it might be a little bit more careful in terms of how it moves, and maybe consider emotions and history, right? As it's taking its movement, or it just may be a very emotional type of situation that you're being forced to move through. But I think that's good. I think Mars in the sign of Cancer is sort of tempering the fiery nature of this eclipse. Now, make no mistake, there is a higher expression, or shadow, and a shadow expression, and a higher expression of every sign and every planet. And make no mistake that Cancer can be, Cancer can stand up for itself when it's backed into a corner. So I think, we've got to be careful that things don't get emotionally out of hand here. And and that we don't get backed into a corner or back ourselves into a corner because we're feeling too emotional about something, right? And we're wanting to move too quickly, because Cancer can bite, goes sideways. The crab goes sideways, but if you back it into a corner, it's going to come out fighting, and that would be something to watch. But nonetheless, we're trying to get through, get started on something new, right? And it may be painful, right? Or it could be healing. Either way, or healing something from the past. Either way, we're wanting to move forward. And we're wanting to move forward into more equitable situations, more equitable relationships. We're making a commitment, right, to do something that is just, that is justified, or that represents balance in some way. That's kind of how I'm seeing this. But look, pressure. We want to be careful of the pressure, because look, we have the opposition there to Pluto, which is a very powerful planet. Pluto that has just gone direct in the sign of Capricorn. It went direct on October the 11th. So that was last Friday in Capricorn. And it's a very short retrograde back to 29 degrees of Capricorn that will last through November 17th. It went back, Pluto went back into Capricorn the beginning of September. And what its intent is to break down structures, completely finish breaking down the structure, or uncovering the mysteries, or getting to the root foundation of some kind of Capricorn Plutonian traditional structure. Could be work, could be just old time honored traditions, could be something related to power and control when it comes to, just old ideas, because Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, represents things that are just old and potentially, with Pluto going through there since 2008, falling apart. And Pluto just says, okay, it's time now that we change our old attitudes, change our old processes, change our old way of doing things, separate from old traditions, or separate from old jobs, whatever's going on. And this is the final push, right, to clear something out in the sign of Capricorn. And that would be something that's never going to look the same. It's going to take on a different shape and a different form, but I think it has to, right? Because Pluto's going back into Aquarius. And when it was in Aquarius at the time of the last solar eclipse, at 1 degree of Aquarius, trying to move forward, I think it was like, Aquarius is about what's new and progressive and unique and different, rebellious, right? It's about the future. There's something here that says we have to go back and clear out the final pieces of what is old and outdated before we can move into creating a new future. Pluto, right? Transforming and moving through something brand new in the sign of Aquarius. Now, this opposition is tense. We've got Pluto and Mars, two of the most powerful planets. They have a lot in common. Before Pluto was discovered, Mars was the planet. So they're facing off here in the sign of Capricorn and Cancer. So there is a potential here, opposition is relational, that we're going to feel a lot of pressure to either move things forward, take care of something from the past. It may come out as an expression of our emotions. And we may be feeling pushed or pressed by some kind of old system or old belief, and they're gonna butt heads, right? And that means something has to be balanced, something has to be broken, so that we can move forward into a place where we are honoring our own needs and wants, and we are being fair and balanced within the relationships and the situations that we have in our lives. This should be interesting. It's a grand cardinal cross. It's very dynamic. It indicates a lot of movement and change. If you are an Aries or a Cancer or a Libra or a Capricorn, and you have, I'm going to say, let's see, 18 degrees to 26 degrees, maybe 19, I say because Chiron's there conjunct. of any of the cardinal signs to 26, 27 degrees, you're really going to feel this, right? Especially if you're an Aries rising, Capricorn rising, Cancer rising, or Libra rising, because this cardinal grand cross is going to be hitting you on your angles, right? The most powerful houses, first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses. You will likely be seeing material change, physical change in your world. So be careful, tread lightly. It could be a very exciting time. This just indicates a lot of change. It doesn't have to be negative. It can be positive. You can be very aware of what's going on and what you've been trying to change in your life, what process is coming to an end. Nonetheless, it looks like it's pretty emotional, and it's going to loop in your feelings, the feelings of other people, and maybe leaving some kind of old situation or structure or thought process behind, right? Yes, there could be surprises. We could be taken by surprise in one way or another. But I think overall it might be positive in the long run. Surprise, Uranus is here. Uranus is retrograde. Uranus is change, moving forward. Can be disruptions, right? And surprise. And Pluto, whatever Pluto is clearing out there, it's trining Uranus, right? It's trining Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So this could come to us in the form of a surprise. Depends on where Uranus is sitting in your chart. Keep an eye out, right? Pay attention to the stress and that you're feeling in your life. Where are things coming? Where do you feel like something is shifting? And take a look at your chart for sure. What houses is this full moon affecting? Because it is very, very dynamic. Now, there are some positives here. I mean, in addition to the mutual reception, which could temper the moon in Aries conjunct Chiron a little bit, but we have Jupiter, which is retrograde in the sign of Gemini. We've talked about Jupiter and Gemini, lots of options, opening up our mind. This and that can be true. Having conversations, considering options, and considering different plans of action. It's like Jupiter is about truth and it's about learning. So what have we learned? Can we help balance things out by keeping our mind open, right? And not digging our heels in too much. Jupiter and Gemini can help us with that. And it is sextiling the full moon. So we have access to that open-mindedness and that ability to communicate. And Jupiter in Gemini can be very funny and fun-loving. So we can try and move through this maybe and inject a little bit of a sense of humor. And of course, that means it's trining. So that's positive. Jupiter is supporting and, giving us the ability to see both sides, right? Consider both sides, loosen things up a little bit. That would be something that we would want to take advantage of here. And sometimes when we're in stressful situations, or we're trying to get things done like this, where we're there's a lot of tension and stress, injecting a little bit of humor, or just going, well, it could have been worse, or at least this didn't happen, or, knowing that you have more than one option to solve something, it's really good to fall back on that. So that's supportive. Jupiter is very much supportive. We also have the ruler of the South Node and of the Sun here that we need to consider as well, which is Venus over here in the sign of Scorpio at 29 degrees. That's an anaretic degree. We have Venus 29 degrees Scorpio, 29 degrees of Capricorn, anaretic degrees. These are very critical degrees that are coming to the end of the cycle. So we want to watch those. But, Venus Venus can soften things, right? Have us consider, things in terms of, what we like and what we desire, especially in the sign of Scorpio. And it is sextiling, which is helpful. So we've got Venus, the ruler of this, sextiling Pluto, right? So this is about really feeling and knowing what it is that you desire, what is worth uh, transforming and working on in the sign of Scorpio. What is the true value? This is maybe the time where we're really thinking about that. And, you know, is it something that we want to let go, right? Pluto in 29 degrees of Capricorn. Or is it something that we want to transform, Venus in Scorpio, and move forward? As Pluto goes into Aquarius, if we want to birth something new, something different, right? If we want to experience some kind of progress, we can actually do that. That sextile is saying you don't have to throw out something that you love and that you desire, that you see valuable to you, South Node, right? Because, you know, that can drain out. But you can choose to modify or transform it and move it forward. Or Venus in Scorpio, you can choose to end it. But it will be at your disposal, and it looks semi-easy for you to be able to make that assessment during this cycle. So also Venus is going to be trining Neptune, and Neptune is trining Mars. So all of that is very positive, right? If we need to make a change, we need to innovate something, we need to progress towards a new expression or birth something new that we really want to hold on to, we can do that. But we also have, and we can do that, you know, by just having compassion, right? And faith and hope. Where's my, oh, my things, hang on a minute, guys. My pen is acting funny again, as it likes to do sometimes. Okay, so we have Venus trining Neptune, right? So if we decide to transform something, we have a little bit of wistfulness, dreaminess, unconditional love in the sign of Pisces that will help us lift that up and either transform and change something or let it go, right? Let it go with compassion and with love that can soften up the pressure here. And the Neptune trine Mars, right? So the connection here, it's a water trine, right? That's helping us move through some kind of material change, something that may be difficult, something that we may have to leave behind, or we need to find the strength to communicate honestly how we want to move it forward, or what our intentions are, or how we can work together. And so, yes, Mars can be spicy and very emotional in Cancer, but I'm not sure that this is going to be, unless you choose it to be devastating, right? And just really confrontational. I think that this full moon, it's on fire. It looks to be very difficult circumstances. Maybe something that you can't avoid, right? That you have to deal with, which is probably where the pressure is coming from, especially with those 29-degree placements. But something that can be done with tact and class, and with a little bit of softness, and definitely with a lot of love behind it, because these changes are likely changes that we can't go back and undo. And that if we're going to move forward, we're going to have to do that authentically, in a fair and balanced way, something that works good for everybody. And yeah, so this is something, it's like, I would say, you know, pay attention to the wounding, pay attention to whether or not you're feeling irritated, or what's the impulsive. You want to be careful with that right now. Likely, if you're feeling some kind of anger or aggression, it's coming from some kind of past wounding or past experience that you had, and it's just welling up. One of those times where you'd be like, is what I'm feeling and what's going on, and my short temperedness, even, or anxiety, is it about what's going on right now, or is it about something that I've been carrying around for a long time? Something to think about. Could be either. And then again, with Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn, think it has been there since 2008. Pluto's going to go out with a bang no matter what. And Capricorn is material change. So, and structure. So it's not easy to knock the last few bricks down and move forward. Sometimes we like to hang on to just the ropes that we have left, just because it's painful to experience sometimes that kind of change. But we have some help here to temper that, and something to fall back on. Jupiter and Gemini can be also a counselor or a guru or somebody that you may reach out, may be able to reach out and talk to, that can help you sort of sort through the details and settle the chaos in your mind before moving forward. That's an option too, right? Gemini is about communication. So I would say that would be our best bet here when we're dealing with this tension and stress, keeping in mind that Pluto is going to be at 29 Capricorn until November 17th. So this could play out. And, we're culminating a cycle from the solar eclipse back in April the 8th. At the very least, if you have a relationship, or you're having your nodal return, so you've got Aries and Libra nodes in your chart, this is likely very, very long-term cycles, and even cycles that you may be clearing out from past lifetimes, right? So be patient with yourself, and just keep that in mind, that this is not always easy, and that we have to, deal with other people here, deal with other situations, and also take care of ourselves. So I would say, just take a deep breath. Don't push yourself. Look for honesty. Libra is ruled by Saturn, or not ruled by Saturn, but Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra. So this is very much about doing the right thing when it comes to relationships, and how we give and take in relationships, which we should be doing. It's not all about taking. It's not all about giving, and that's a lot of what this Libra Aries cycle is about, learning, right? And I'm sure most of us have come across situations where we're like, oh my gosh, this, or where we've been stressed to the point where we realize that maybe we have been giving too much for too long, and we need to ask for, we need to ask for what we need, and have it match what we have given or are willing to give before we can move things forward. And I think, and the Aries side is maybe being put in situations where they're having to realize that it isn't all about them, that there are other people. And so whatever side of the coin you're on, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a lesson that all of us need to learn. And of course, we can see this playing out in the collective too, where there is a lot of reshuffling and balancing going on, a lot of old structures and things that are being uncovered, whether it's in corporations or governments, or people that have positions of power, where we're starting to see that things weren't what we thought they were, and that we might need to participate in leveling the playing field here. And so we're seeing that going on out in the collective too. And, we could simply be, an observer, right? Watching a lot of these things go on outside of us, but having feelings about it nonetheless, and trying to decide how we get involved constructively, hopefully, rather than, being angry and just thinking about ourselves. How do we participate so that we can create a more balanced situation for those that are around us. And I think that has a lot to do with not separating ourselves, not, that Jupiter and Gemini, this and that can be true, open our minds. That goes for the general collective. It goes for, we've got elections here coming up. It goes for, one side being right, one side being wrong, all of the arguing that usually goes on in politics. Like, maybe it's time that we sit back and go, okay, we can all agree on this, right? This is not okay, no matter what side you're on, or this we want to see change no matter what side you're on. Sometimes, as we see all of these things coming out, and I think Pluto will continue to reveal things that might shock and surprise us amongst our institutions and governments and things like that. So we're going to go a little bit into collective, my thoughts on the collective. We might realize that we all have been taken advantage of, or we all didn't see where things were going, and that who benefits from things it's very imbalanced, right? And sometimes for folks to come together and see both sides and open up their mind, and not put ourselves in category A or category B and then have a standoff, is a common enemy. And maybe this time frame is going to show us, here's the common enemy, right? And this is what needs to go. Maybe we can unite in some areas, agree to disagree on some things, but come together to create change. Pluto's moving into Aquarius for all of us, for the collective going forward. And that's my hope. It's our opportunity to do so. It certainly is. So anyway, that is this full moon in Aries. It's a firecracker. I would like to know, what is changing for you? What are you going through? What is this cycle all about? I've got a couple things going on, right? I'm a Gemini, so I have heavy, heavy air. And Gemini is more than one thing. So you could be dealing with more than one thing, which is why, you have to sort through things, and you might need a little bit of counsel on, what comes first and how to prioritize. But yeah, I can feel it. More than one thing. I need to be in more than one place, doing more than one thing, considering more than one relationship or situation. It's been a little crazy, but wherever it's hitting in your chart, right? You might be feeling that too. So take a look. If you're not sure and you want to unpack this cycle, get a hold of me. My information is down below, email address, and my website. You can send a message there. I'd love to meet you. Otherwise, just comment, share, like, subscribe. I would be very grateful. Trying to grow my YouTube channel. I've been trying, it's really, for me, it's like a start and stop, and that's not good at all. So I appreciate those of you that have been around, but, we'll just keep plugging and keep trying to grow. And it's just taken me so long to continue getting, incrementally more comfortable talking to a camera and not a person. So I feel like I'm kind of getting there, and my thoughts aren't so jumbled up as I'm trying to express them to somebody other than a person. I do much better with a volley. Anyway, thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. I will see you soon. Good luck with this full moon. Let me know how you're doing down in the comments. Take good care. May the stars forever be in your favor. Bye for now.